I tried to ignore her because I didn't think I was worthy. She forced me to believe I was. To preface this episode, I've recently had a change in where I lay my head to sleep. This is something that I will talk about in an upcoming episode, and that has been very beneficial in my life. It is relevant, I promise. I've been a practicing witch now in some form or another for over 10 years. I started reading about it in high school, but didn't start really practicing it until I was in college. Even then, it wasn't the practice that I have now. It was like a newborn fawn learning to walk for the first time, awkward and full of mistakes. I remember love spells that backfired, manifestations that went wrong, you name it, I've probably been through it. That being said, I still don't feel like I know a fraction of what's out there to know. The imposter syndrome in my own spirituality runs deeper than I care to admit. I remember the first time I learned about crystals and the power that they held to help assist in life. I was dating a very bad man, and he could tell I was so drawn to his father's friends' talk of their grids. And when we got back to his father's boat after the visit, he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Don't ever think about getting into crystals. That's too far for me." And I felt my heart crack in that moment. That relationship was already on the rocks, but even then, it felt like someone I cared about was once again rejecting a piece of my core identity. See, this wasn't the first time that I'd had someone in my life rejecting the calling of the witch in me. I can trace it all the way back to high school. There have been many moments throughout my life that I've heard the mockery, that I've been persecuted for what feels right in my bones. This left me conflicted. For years, I practiced in the shadows, too afraid to say out loud to anyone what my beliefs were. In fact, when asked, I would feel that sour taste of unease and regret because I knew I would have to lie. Because when people hear witch, they think you worship their form of the devil, which for some that may be true and that is perfectly acceptable. But for me, that wasn't always the case. I was all love and light and threefold law for many years, too afraid to face the darkness in me and what that meant. Hell, I was afraid to stand tall in my own beliefs, let alone face my own darkness. Eventually, though, I found friends that believed in crystals the way I do and witchcraft, and even if our views weren't 100% aligned all the time, we even attempted to start a coven, which didn't actually go anywhere because, to be honest, that's a lot of work. But I'd be interested to start it up again if y'all wanted me to. Maybe that could be a Patreon thing. Needless to say, the support gave me a little more confidence to start exploring my craft a bit more openly. Through this, I started exploring deities and was immediately drawn to Hekate. I remember reading about her and feeling this simultaneous sense of home and shame. I let the shame overpower me and instead gravitated toward Freya and Norse paganism. It felt safer to me in my nervous system. Over the years, I've come to see myself as more of an eclectic gray witch who doesn't follow one specific path or set of deities, but takes what resonates and leaves the rest. This has allowed me to follow my heart and my intuition more than ever. Hekate has always been at the edges of my awareness, though, making herself known by showing up in videos I watch online, coming up in conversation, or just randomly coming across my mind for absolutely no reason. This brings us to present day. I've moved my bedroom to our basement and I have it set up so beautifully. I am absolutely in love with my space down there. So let me paint the picture of how it's set up so you can understand when I tell you the following story. When you walk into my bedroom, directly to the left is the west wall with my dresser. At the end of that wall, where it meets the north wall, there's a small under the stairs closet we use as an overflow pantry. And about 4 feet down the north wall is my open shelf closet from Walmart, hanging clothes, purse, gym bag. It's pressed up against a built in closet that holds the electrical panels, and that built in runs all the way to the east wall. The east wall has a small basement window dead center at the top, and in the corner where it meets the south wall is a 5 shelf unit that matches the open closet. and the head of my bed rests on the south wall about a foot from the entry doorframe. I hope this makes sense. So, last week on Monday, I had quite an intense experience that shook me to my core. I sleep like a freaking baby in this bedroom. It's my safe space. Now, when I sleep with an eye mask and earplugs so I can't see shit or hear shit. I also sleep with my Oura ring on to track my sleep. My Oura ring says I was awake from 3:38 a.m. onward Tuesday morning. What I remember of the events is as follows. I woke up and was having a hard time falling back asleep. As per usual, I was having weird conversations with myself about how I would escape in case of a fire, since I don't have an egress window. I distinctly remember wondering if I would actually be able to fit through the opening of that tiny ass window or not. The next thing I remember is rolling from on my back to on my stomach and putting my right knee on the ground between my bed and my dresser. Then that knee gets really fucking warm. And I remember thinking to myself, that's weird. Is there an actual fire? Can't be. I'd smell smoke, right? So I roll back over onto my back under the covers, and I'm laying there for what feels like maybe 2 seconds. And my entire right leg from hip to ankle gets really fucking hot. I remember thinking, what the fuck is happening? This is so weird. Then I feel the bed depress like something big walked onto it. I don't even have time to process that moment before I not only felt the breath, but heard the most guttural, vicious dog growl right against my right cheek. Now, I remember thinking to myself, what the fuck was that? My door is closed and locked. There is no way anything got in here. And I fling my eye mask off and look around to confirm that my room is, in fact, empty. The thing is, when I took my eye mask off, I felt this sense of calm peacefulness wash over me. I wasn't scared, my heart wasn't racing, I was just fine. I knew it wasn't a bad entity. I still cleansed the fuck out of my room that morning before I left for work, though, as any good witch would do. I spent most of the day thinking to myself, it had to be Hekate. It had to be Hekate. I don't know why, but I just had this feeling that it was her trying to get my attention and the only way she knew I would listen. So a couple days later, I decided to do a meditation to connect with her. And sure enough, I was correct. In that meditation, Hekate said it was her way of reaching out to connect with me because I wasn't listening to any other way she'd tried up until that point. We talked for a bit about what her presence would be like moving forward in my life. And when the guided meditation ended, they said that I would get a sign afterward that would confirm everything in my meditation was real. So as soon as I opened my eyes, I felt drawn to look up at my window, and the most beautiful flash of orange was coming from my labradorite that sits up there. It had never done it up until that point, and it hasn't done it since. And I knew in my gut, in my heart, that that was my sign. And for anyone who knows, labradorite is in fact connected with Hekate as well. So fast forward again to Valentine's Day night, and I decided to play an absolutely beautiful 10-hour Hekate sleep meditation. I set it as soon as I laid down in bed, which was probably around 11 p.m. And when I woke up that morning, I felt something literally bump into my bed, like a human being hit it. And once again, my door is shut and locked, and I'm the only one in there. I take my mask off to confirm I'm correct. I'm the only one in there. I roll over immediately and I grab my phone to turn off the meditation, only to realize that it had seconds left to play. I think, okay, I hear you, Hekate, like, I didn't do what we agreed I was going to do. Message received. I then open my Oura Ring app, as I always do first thing in the morning, only to realize that I hadn't slept for 10 hours, yet the video was almost done playing. My phone is on a shelf and it's face down, so there's no way that it got interfered with at night. It was in the exact same position and it never stopped playing all night. And I do have the Apple focus mode. It's not focus mode. I do have the Apple app limit set for like an hour and a half, and I know that resets at midnight, and that didn't even come on, and normally it would, and it would shut my meditation off early, but for some reason that didn't come on at all either. So that was really weird. Again, I knew it was Hekate reaching out to me because I hadn't implemented what we had talked about from the previous meditation, and I just laughed to myself. I've always been drawn to Hekate, but until recently, I convinced myself I wasn't worthy of her presence, that she was too powerful, too ancient, too much for someone like me. I spent years hiding my magic, making it smaller so other people could digest it, pretending I wasn't called to do what I'm doing. But she's done with that. She will not take no for an answer. So now I sit here, no longer pretending I didn't hear the growl, no longer pretending the heat wasn't real, and no longer pretending the flash of orange light didn't split something open in me. And I wonder, when something's been calling you your entire life, how long do you plan to ignore it? Will you answer gently, or will it have to shake you awake? I hope today's episode resonated with you. If it did, you're welcome to share it with someone who might need this conversation. And if it stirred questions, reflections, or even disagreement, you're welcome to join the conversation or suggest future topics on Instagram or YouTube at Salt and Sovereignty. Until next time, honor the truth that keeps you sovereign.